It's the Daily Kebab! Evening Muttonistas and welcome to the Daily Kebab again. It's going to be a pretty short one because I'm packing because I'm travelling tomorrow, which also means there might or might not be a Daily Kebab, and if there is, it'll be another short one. Anyway, some good games and some bad games today, I thought. We started off with Tunisia against Australia. Bright start, particularly from Australia, and the flicked-headed goal, I guess it did come from a deflected cross, but it was a very nicely finished goal, I thought, and I thought Australia were just about value for the win. So that leaves them in a strong position to qualify for the next round if they can get something against Denmark. And in the other game in that group, France beat Denmark 2-1. Denmark seem to have had France's number for many, many years, but Mbappe and the French just seemed to turn up on the big occasion, and he did indeed turn up tonight, although there were some worrying aspects if you're a French supporter of their defending, especially at right back. In fact, the whole game featured 3 goals which were caused by a bit of ball watching. I'll say the Denmark goal was of fairly good quality, although Denmark shot themselves in the foot a bit because at one stage they were going forward nicely, had an easy pass to put somebody through in on goal, and a poor pass gave the ball away, and the French went down the other end and Mbappe scored. I fancy Denmark to actually beat Australia in the final match, although I've been overrating the European team, so it's a bit up in the air as to who comes second in this group. And in Group C, we had 2 pretty decent games actually, which is refreshing after some very stale affairs of late. We started off with Poland against Saudi Arabia, and it does seem to me that every time Saudi Arabia play, you're basically on the edge of your seat. They play this high line, and whilst they didn't against Argentina, here against Poland they did pile forward, and they missed a penalty, and they missed a ton of other chances, so only themselves to blame here. Although I would add, you could also say they were a bit unlucky because Matty Cash, who was booked earlier on, led with an elbow and missed and ended up elbowing a Saudi player in the neck, and he should have at least got a second yellow and been sent off for that. The referee had been dishing out too many cards too early, and I think he bottled that decision. Not sure why VAR didn't get involved in there, because I would have thought that Cash should have been sent off. But they still have a good chance of getting through, I think. And that's because, in the other group game, Argentina beat Mexico 2-0. This was looking more like a 0-0, but Argentina's change of formation after the half meant that with the extra man pivoting in the middle with a 5-man defence, the forward players had a little bit more freedom going forward, and that led to the situation where Messi pounced on a small error and smacked one right into the bottom corner. Mexico, I'm afraid, lobbing balls, high balls into the box without any precision whatsoever. I'm afraid they look gone to me. Well, I may be wrong, and if they win their last match against the Saudis, they will have a fairly decent chance, as you'd expect Argentina to polish off the Poles, if you'll excuse the pun. And how did my predictions go? Well, in that particular group, I actually got one spot on for a change, Argentina against Mexico, and the game kind of panned out a bit in the way I thought it would, except for Argentina were a bit disorganised in the first half. I thought Poland and Saudi Arabia would grind out a 0-0. I didn't see Poland scoring. Okay, their second goal was like the biggest gift ever. They did breach the Saudi high line once and got their goal from that, and I have to say, I don't fancy them scoring any against Argentina in the last match. That's not that I've got anything against Poland, but it's just the way I see them play. So my 0-0 was off the mark there. Tunisia, Australia, I thought that would have been a draw. It was indeed a tight game, and Tunisia, they were too cautious for too long, so my prediction might have been right had they pushed a bit further forward earlier on in the second half. 1-1 it could have been. And France against Denmark, I thought that would be 2-0 to France, but it was 2-1, and maybe I should have taken account of the fact that Denmark had caused France problems in the past. Now, On to tomorrow's predictions. In Group E, the first game, the morning game, will be Japan against Costa Rica. Japan are quite good and Costa Rica are not. So I think this is going to be pretty comfortable for Japan, and I'm going to go for 3-0. Then the next game will be in Group F, Belgium against Morocco. Now, Belgium were pretty poor in the last match and are a bit lucky to get out with a 1-0 win, and I'm going to back them here to do something similar. They seemed a bit off the pace, maybe they'll improve, but they do have people who can score, and Morocco, for all their neat play in the middle of the park, don't seem to be able to score. So I'm going for another Belgium win, Belgium 1, Morocco 0. Next, again in Group F, Croatia against Canada, and Canada was so impressive last time out, and Croatia, to be honest, weren't in that pretty bad 0-0 against Morocco in the first match, and I'm going to back Canada to cause a slight shock here and edge this one 1-0. This is a very low scoring group, but I was so impressed with Canada last time, I think if they keep that up, they'll nick a win here. And then finally, the big game of the day in Group E, Spain against Germany, and I think this is going to be Auf Wiedersehen to Germany. Spain keeping possession for long periods, passing the ball at pace, runners moving forward and timing their runs. I don't see how the Germans are going to live with that. They may well score because they have some dangerous players of their own, but I'm going to go here for Spain 3, Germany 1. So as always, we're going to have a little food element of this vlog, so let's head off to somewhere that all Mancunians are familiar with, the Curry Mile. Okay, Muttonistas, welcome to the most interesting food street in the whole of Manchester, Wilmslow Road in Rusholme, as known as the Curry Mile. Now you can see behind me there's an enormous string of places available here. Most of the food's halal, and back in the day when I were a lad in the 70s and 80s, nearly all of the establishments on this street were Pakistani places offering curries and other South Asian specialities. But now it's become a massive melting pot of cuisines from the Islamic world, from Afghan to Iranian to Turkish, even Yemeni. Anyway, I fancy a kebab tonight, and I'm going to try somewhere which I think is mainly Kurdish and Iranian. The Al Jazeera, yes, the same as the famous Middle Eastern news channel, serving up a selection of clay oven kebabs and Middle Eastern dishes. Given there's a big screen showing Arabic TV programmes, in fact, well, it's football with Arabic commentary, and some of the dishes I've seen, I'm going to change my assumption to it being either Iraqi or Kurdish. Now, while I'm waiting for the food to come, a few sort of points and questions I want to throw at you. First of all, how would you grade this World Cup so far? Is it a good one, a bad one, or an indifferent one? As far as I'm concerned, it's a bad one. It's been too negative. Yes, World Cup always are negative affairs because we have defenders who can defend well, and we don't have these melded units that you get in clubs with all the top players playing together at the same clubs, training for days and days and weeks and years together. So in a way understandable, but this one's been particularly negative in my opinion. Second point, what do you all think about the refereeing and the VAR? Has that been up to standard, do you think? Do you like them adding all this extra time at the end of games so that every second's accounted for? I personally do, because I hate it when teams deliberately time waste and get what they want by doing so. And finally, based on what we've seen so far, who do you think's going to win it? I fancy Spain the way they've been playing so far, but obviously it's pretty much impossible to tell. But for what it's worth, that's my feeling. And please feel free to leave a comment in the comment section if you've got your own tip to win the event, or you share or disagree with my feelings about the officiating at this event and any other World Cup topic you'd care to discuss. Anyway, the food has arrived, so let's pan down, folks, and get stuck in. So we have their special mix, kebab, which is ground minced lamb with herbs, and chicken. And you all, of course, know what a chicken kebab's like. Also a bit of salad, some chili sauce, some yogurt sauce, and as you can see, they've sprinkled a bit of sumac, which is a type of ground coriander. You can have the kebab with rice rather than bread. I prefer bread. And the done thing here is to eat it probably with your right hand rather than the left as I'm doing. Dunk it into your sauce of choice. Of course, I've gone for chili. The kebab, the lamb kebab, it's so juicy, soft and tender. The juices literally spurt out into your mouth when you bite into it. And it has a strong lammy flavour. Some might not like that, but I do. Now to try a piece of the chicken. And incidentally, you can get these kebabs in all sorts of combinations. You could have lamb tikka or lamb chops or various combinations of those. There's even, I think, a massive one with 3 different items on board. Again, so tender and juicy and cooked to exactly the right point. Anyway, I'm going to get on with this. I need 2 hands to eat it. So, as I said, I'll try and bring you something tomorrow, but I am travelling, so it might be a curtailed version. But until then, folks, I'll look forward to seeing you again. And that was your Daily Kebab.